Judo has become the perfect recent example of how to make a character gather tons of hate, but win many of them over with understanding. I went through the discussion of her character as a new fan of the show, and it was like I went through a war zone after the war is ended. She's about 7 years old, so the fact that people are calling her ugly and hating on a literal child and a fictional character is quite annoying. Why does everyone still hate her just because she was mean in Butterflies? Unlike most people on this wiki, I don't hate her. So you like bullies then? Cause Judo's a bully. I was taken aback and I wanted to experience this for myself, and now that I understand both sides, it's time to dissect the Bluey character that everyone hated. Judo's origin episode, Butterflies, stirred up a lot of controversy because of how Judo behaved in a large part of it. Bandit would set up a swing and Bluey and Bingo would add to the conversation, but Judo would respond in an odd way.
Yeah, they have them at Bluey's school.
I know that. Bluey's my friend.
You can tell immediately that Judo is territorial over Bluey, and given that she's saying this to Bluey's sister, showcases how she feels about Bingo as well. As first impressions go, it's easy to be soured on Judo's role here, but this is a solid story to tell, because kids can be territorial over many things, including people. They're playing a game called Butterflies, which involves acting out the life cycle of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, which involves the cocoon stage, which will be acted out in the swing that was put up.
Can I be the caterpillar first?
I'm going first.
Come on, Bingo. We'll be the butterfly catchers.
As I was watching this, it made me wonder about how this behavior happens in the first place, and I'm sure there's many different ways, but one thing is for sure, it clearly hasn't been checked by an adult, like Judo's parents, and allowed to bloom in this toxic way. It has been clocked by both Bluey and Bingo, who states something that's going to be really important for her character.
Judo is so bossy. Yeah, she is, but she doesn't have anyone else to play with.
We see Bluey's diplomatic side here in being the bridge between Judo's heightened sense of entitlement and Bingo's passive annoyance with Judo. She's a kid and wants to play and not worry about any drama, nor would anyone expect her to be equipped with the tools to handle something like this. But many times I've seen this go down, and it doesn't even have to be a black and white situation like this. Have you ever had two friends or two friend groups where you pluck one from one place to the other group and they just don't mesh at all, but individually you have a great time with both? With Judo's lack of a social group, I can easily see how this behavior comes about. Once Judo hatches in this game of Butterfly, Bingo and Bluey play butterfly catcher, and things seem to go well for about 4 seconds.
My turn.
You're too small to be a caterpillar.
No, I'm not. Go on, Bingo. We'll be the butterfly catchers.
Bingo starts to stand up for herself a bit, and Bluey, wanting to be fair, doesn't let Judo get her way this time. But you can tell from Judo's expression that she's not gonna take this well. Remember, she takes pride in being Bluey's friend and believes her bond to be stronger or more important than Bluey's bond with Bingo. This leads into a large part of the mess. Bingo struggles to get into the swing, and you realize something. Judo was somewhat right. Obviously, Bingo does get into the swing, but it takes more time, and she's quick to point that out. It reinforces her perspective of not wanting to hang around Bingo, and this could be a universal experience that many siblings that are pretty far apart in ages may go through. Some of you may have had to unplug the controller but hide that it's not plugged in to make them feel included. Some of you may have had a group huddle with your friends to tell them to take it easy on them because they don't know that they're physically not up to par with the rest of the group. Some of you may have been in the exact position that Bingo is in right now. Judo comes up with a horrible idea that puts Bluey in a terrible spot.
Hey, Bluey.
Yeah?
Let's run away from Bingo.
What? Why?
She's taking ages. Come on.
No one to tickle.
Wait for me.
Does Judo portray someone who takes disagreeing well? She clearly didn't want Bingo involved at all, but Bluey is at a crossroads here. From her perspective, she's close with both, but when one clearly doesn't want to hang out with the other, you have to make a decision. There is a right decision here, but I'll play devil's advocate. Bluey is going to make a hasty decision, but she knows that Judo doesn't have many, if any, friends, and may believe that she'll have plenty of time to hang out with Bingo, but not that much with Judo. So yes, they abandon Bingo, and it's here where you can see why many people would be upset. She's been dismissive of Bingo's feelings, dismissive of Bluey's feelings, and takes control of everything. Plus, with how beloved Bingo's character is, I can see many people feeling like they wanna... And trust me, I don't relate, but I understand. It's like if someone made a video like why I think Muriel from Courage the Cowardly Dog is an awful character. Even if their points are valid, I'm still gonna wanna... But strangely, I didn't get those feelings with Judo here. And you're talking to someone who's been through Everyone Knows It's Bendy, The Big Fairy Share Scare, Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful, when you see a character for the first time and go, yeah, I'm not gonna like you that much. This isn't the best first impression for Judo, and Judo is being controlling here, but I wanted to see where it would go.
Because you're dirty, not because you're clean.
Bluey, you were meant to catch me.
Ah! Quick, Bluey, run away! Quick! We can hide in my house!
One of the worst feelings is the feeling of not being wanted by someone you care about. I think what makes this stellar storytelling is that the straw that broke the camel's back is Bluey's approval, seemingly from the perspective of Bingo. If Judo thinks what she thinks, it may still affect Bingo, as throughout the show you can tell how sensitive she can be, but nothing is worse than someone who you rely on acting the same way. It's why I like the touch of Bingo specifically targeting Bluey, because she believed her to know better. Just look at how happy she was earlier, wanting to be included in on the fun. Bluey immediately regrets her decision, and I think this is stellar too, because it's peer pressure that's driving her. Similar to Bingo in dance mode, she wants to be nice, but in being quote unquote nice to Judo, she's being mean to Bingo. Judo pushes Bluey to play a new game, and Bluey can only think about one thing: Bingo.
Poor little bug on the wall, ding ching. No one to love him at all, ding ching.
So then I went to the bakery to get some cream buns for Casper, but they ran out of cream buns. I just don't know what the world's coming.
Okay then, I'm going now. Bye.
I see every perspective here. Judo doesn't have many friends, so she may feel insecure about her few friends spending time with other people. Judo, we'd also learn, is an only child, and there's the argument that only children tend to not share things well. She may care about Bluey a lot and want to devote her time to Bluey, which she values a lot. There's also another big reason why I see Judo differently than others, but that'll involve an episode we'll get to soon. Now granted, in me seeing every perspective, that doesn't mean that I agree with every perspective. This isn't to excuse her behavior, just to explain why it may happen. She's very much in the wrong, but that's obvious here. Bingo just wants to have fun and be included, because she was just as excited to play butterflies as anyone else. She doesn't understand why Judo is so territorial with Bluey, but she gets to hang out with Bluey practically every day. She's also been nothing but respectful to Judo and can't control being younger than them, not that it should matter that much in this context, and Bluey likes them both and doesn't want either of them to feel excluded. She doesn't want to make Judo upset because she is one of her only friends, but she doesn't want to exclude Bingo because she loves Bingo and doesn't know how to diplomatically solve this without having the uncomfortable conversation. But that's the key here. Sometimes you can't avoid an uncomfortable conversation because it leads to situations exactly like this.
I'm sorry, Bingo. I didn't mean to run away from you. Judo made me do it. Well, she didn't make me do it. I'll never do it again, Bingo. I promise. Please, can we play together?
Bingo has a right to feel upset here. It's important that Bluey mentions that she wasn't exactly forced to do this. I'm not going to pretend that peer pressure doesn't exist or is an easy thing to avoid, because it's not, and for Bluey, it may get a lot harder as she grows up, depending on who she's around. A lot of people don't want to rustle feathers, but in this instance, it was clear how consistent Judo was. And I've seen many times friends wait until the ticking time bomb explodes to deal with something that could have been diffused a long time ago. The key here is that the feelings you thought you would avoid when it was ticking are the feelings you tackle when it's far too late. And in many cases, that discomfort is actually bigger when you let the ticking time bomb explode. Think about what it could have been if Bluey confronted Judo the first time that she was bossy with Bingo, compared to now, where she has to explain why she ditched Bingo to have a subpar experience with just Judo. Both sit in their sad feelings for a short while, but they do make up. However, that leaves just one person left.
There you are. You ran away from me.
Well, you ran away from me. And you ignoring me.
Oh yeah, I did.
These conversations are uncomfortable, but avoiding them can make things worse. I wish I could tell you they get easier, but the reality is they're almost always uncomfortable, but you can get better at them. You can always get better at them. Now, here's the biggest part of butterflies for me.
Sorry, Judo.
That's okay. I'm sorry too, Bingo.
That's okay. Just don't do it again.
She apologizes. It's clear she doesn't harbor resentment specifically for Bingo. She just values her rare friend and was behaving in a territorial way out of insecurities, not malice. She's a 7-year-old kid. Again, kids can be territorial. Side note, this behavior gets a lot less justifiable when you're an adult. I've seen that far too many times in my life, particularly online. And at this point in my life, if I ever see someone in my friend group act like this, I might just... This episode caused a lot of people to not like Judo, and if it wasn't for another episode that we're about to get to in a second, she probably would have been one of the most hated characters in Bluey, which says a lot about her. She'd make a small cameo in the episode Seesaw, and I didn't have high hopes because...
Never go with being the spider, Bingo.
Sure, Pom-Pom. You're too small to be the spider.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, she's not.
She pretty much does the same thing that she did in Butterflies again, which I can see people being conflicted over. Luckily, she won't be caught in the trap of always being used as the bossy one because we get the episode that redeems her in the eyes of many.
Shampoo, shampoo again, condition, rinse, and rinse again, wide brush, fine brush, and dry.
Are you almost finished, Mum?
Almost.
So this episode is called Dirt, an episode where Judo struggles to play with Bluey and Bingo because they're playing in a dirt or later mud pile. When I saw how Judo and her mother, Wendy, spoke to each other, I had a galaxy brain moment. To explain it, we need to speak about baby race. So we learn in this episode that Judo was the first child in this mom group to walk. Then we learn here that she takes a lot of time on her coat. Then we also learn that she doesn't go to the same school as Bluey. I'm connecting all of these dots, and it appears that Judo is treated quite well. And I would imagine throughout her life she was treated in a way that led her to have such high self-esteem that it is expressed through being bossy and snobby.
Is it as beautiful as yours?
Even more beautiful.
Wendy loves her daughter, but it does make me wonder, did she give her daughter so much praise in her life so far that she may have received the wrong message? I mean, think about it. Why would Judo feel humble? It is to my understanding of the show so far that the show clearly depicts her to be great at a lot of things that she does, have a high maintenance lifestyle, and be known for a luxurious coat. These aren't things that would make someone humble naturally. Fortunately, this episode has her interact with Bluey and Bingo in a calmer way than last time, but she spends a majority of this episode trying not to get dirty.
Watch this. Dirt! What's wrong? I'm not supposed to get dirty. Oh, well, it might be hard to play in the dirt then.
Bluey and Bingo go out of their way to include her, showing that they don't harbor any bad feelings since the events of Butterflies. Judo is patient and wants to be included, but she's been raised to value her coat. Her coat is a part of her self-identity, and it is part of her bond with her mother. Her mother also makes a practical point when it comes to her coat.
Mum,
Yes, honey.
why is it that I can't get dirty again?
Because we have such long hair. It just takes so long to clean it. It's just easier not to get it dirty in the first place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So on top of the self-identity of being a chow, she also has to keep in mind how long it'd take her to get clean again. They drag her up and use a tray to make sure that she doesn't get dirty and allow for her to play in the dirt pile, but pulling her up took so much energy that it's not feasible to keep doing that. They cover her in all types of makeshift protective gear, but it slows her down. It's getting to a point where Judo feels like a nuisance when all she wants to do is have fun. It's basically the inverse of Butterflies, where rather than Bingo feeling like a nuisance because of Judo judging her for being smaller and younger, Judo judges herself quite harshly. No one wants to feel like a burden for simply wanting to have fun with others, and in many cases people tend to back out of things to not put that burden on anyone else. It's even more painful here because Wendy would see the dirt and connect the dots on what Judo is trying to do, and even give her permission to have fun, valuing the friendships that she has with Bluey and Bingo over taking some extra time to get clean again.
Wendy, can Judo play in the dirt with us?
Judo can play.
What? Really? But you said I can't get dirty.
Yes, I did. But I want you to have fun, sweetie.
Judo?
But she doesn't take the offer. It shows you that she values something else a bit more. And it reminds me of Pom Pom within Seesaw. She kept repeating this throughout the episode, and that mantra did help slightly to build her self-esteem. I wonder if Judo had that same treatment, which is why she backed out here.
We're Chow Chows.
We're known for our long, lovely coats.
Sometimes I wish we weren't, though.
We have the benefit of seeing how Chili and Bandit would speak to Bluey and Bingo. They show a lot of love, but they allow for them to develop humility and not get too big of a head. In fact, Seesaw indirectly put Bluey and Bingo in a place where they had to feel just as small as Pom Pom does, and understand that there's always a bigger shark, so to speak. I wonder if Wendy has moments with Judo to level her out, or if she's constantly being told how amazing she is with such a high-maintenance lifestyle of self-care.
Why don't you want to play in the dirt with the girls?
I just don't want to.
Oh, go on. It's important to play and have fun.
But what about my long, lovely coat? It takes so long to clean.
Oh, yes. I said that, didn't I?
It's here when Wendy understands that something has to be done. With Judo being an only child, Wendy understands and values the social aspects Judo needs to have with other peers her age. So rather than using her words, she uses her actions and lets Judo see that it's more important to be happy than to live up to values so high that it impacts your day-to-day life with the people that you want to be around. That isn't to say that caring about your personal hygiene is less important than having friends, or even that the only way to live life is to lower your standards enough to participate in every activity with other people. In fact, if the story pivoted to having Judo simply play other non-dirty games with Bluey and Bingo, that's equally as valid as Wendy shaving her hair. However, it was important for her to learn that whichever route that she wants to take should be the route that makes her the happiest long term.
Oh, Judo!
What better way to show a character's transformation than to have them both internally and externally transform? You look at some of the overall responses to this episode, and it's clear that people love what they did with Judo and Wendy. It completely redeems her character in many people's eyes. Personally, I wasn't super angry at Judo's performance in Butterflies, but Dirt definitely takes her character to the next level for me. It goes to show you that sometimes a character who may seem one way in a first impression may have some layers to explain why they are that way, and fixing the core of that can result in a change in how that person sees the world. Speaking of layers, Bingo has had to struggle quite a bit in the show from what I've seen so far, and one of her biggest and most praised examples is in this episode here, and you can check out why in this video here.